And she's sitting here, right, in the office that Krsna Maharaj used to. So
Here we are.
a Vaishnavi with endowed with amazing qualities of affection, discipline, dedication. She's very dear to Shri Kalatsanji. She's very dear to her Guru Maharaj, Krsna Maharaj. And I don't want to talk too much. I would like her to enlighten us about her story, her inspiration, and maybe we can talk. Like you can talk about 20 minutes and then take questions.
Okay, sure. So I received my initiation in December of 1979. I had joined in the Houston Temple when it was on Rosalie Street, 1111 Rosalie Street, downtown Houston. And the temple there was very small. The men were there, the single brahmacharis, and we had a few ladies that were coming around, but they needed training, just as the men were getting. So by December of 1978, we had been coming since the spring of 78. That's when I met Srila Gurudev and his godbrothers and godsisters. So by December, we all shipped off to the Dallas community, which at that time was a Gurukul. They had a day and a night school at the time. In other words, the kids stayed in a complete ashram. And it was me and a few other devotees. We came to Dallas and we started a women's ashram. And the women's ashram was wonderful, wonderful training. And that went on, I stayed in Brahmacharini ashram for 3 years. We did a lot of service for the temple and went out and collected a lot of money, distributed a lot of books for Srila Prabhupada. And we branched off into different paraphernalia, increased our collections. Then we were able to build the restaurant, purchase a farm in Oklahoma, make improvements, and send money back to the BBT because the Dallas Temple had taken a large loan from the BBT at that time. We had a very powerful Sankirtan army, if you will. So many full-time devotees. Eventually, by mid-80s, we were all advised by Srila Gurudev to go get jobs. And by then I was married. I was married in 1982. And subsequently in that 1981, actually, and by 82, I had my first child. And so then we were all still collecting for the temple, still going out full time, and whatever money we had, we sent it and gave it to the temple. We did keep part of it for our maintenance. And fast forward late 80s, all of us were working by then. And some of the businesses were run by devotees. And many men who were brahmacharis since the early 70s, traveling on the Radha Damodar Sankirtan party with Vishnu Jan Maharaj and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. They all got married and had jobs, and many of them were running businesses. So my husband and I were still doing all this, and we lived back and forth between Houston and Dallas. Finally, in Dallas, we found a place to live. It was a series of musical houses. I lived in about, gosh, I think I recorded 17 addresses.
Wow.
Between Houston and Dallas. So yeah, so many addresses, and made a lot of very close friends. By 1987, my second son was born, and that was May of 87. And but we had a nursery at the time. A lot of parents were young parents, and we had a nursery where you could bring the children and you could go out on Sankirtan, or you could go work a job. And that's basically what I did. I either went on Sankirtan, or I put in hours selling paintings and different paraphernalia. A lot of times we were still going out on books, selling Srila Prabhupada's books. And that was really nice. So going forward, children needing what children do, they have to grow and get into bigger grades. And so our children we did experiment with putting them in public school. That didn't work. They weren't that happy, and consequently went back to devotional schools. In fact, our oldest son, he went to Vrindavan Gurukul, and he was there from 1993 to 1995. He was there early 93 to late 95. And he got very good training in Vrindavan. And our second son got training in Mayapur, and that was in 1999. And he had that training for about it was a few months he was there, and it was very good for him. They've always been around devotees. They've seen every type of school environment, and I think they've made, at a certain point, they both have to choose whether to be part of ISKCON or not, or to be part of this great sampradaya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So that's what the kids eventually did decide, that this is important. And their father, was very happy to see that happen. And yeah, they actually made choices to be a part of it, and they both got initiated. My youngest son was initiated first. His name is Virabhadra Ram, and my first son was initiated a few years later, and his name is Nrsimha Rupa. They're the spiritual master for our youngest son is His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and the spiritual master for our oldest son is His Holiness Ratafija Maharaj. So we're really grateful for Srila Gurudev and for this Dallas community that has anchored us for so many years and helped us take shelter, because it's a blazing fire of material existence, and taking shelter of the spiritual master and his instructions, we get relief and we have direction and guidance. I don't know if that's the 20 minutes that you were thinking of, but are there any questions you want to?
I just would like you to share what kept you in this movement. I mean, especially being a Vaishnavi, I'm sure there were certain challenges, and some of our girls here are Sankirtan girls. They love to distribute books and they're in India and they face a lot of obstacles. So how do you keep going when you don't feel belonged or when you don't feel encouraged and supported and you have to kind of become qualified on your own?
How do you keep going when you don't feel qualified and you need encouragement?
And it's hard to get it.
And it's hard to get it. It's true that Srila Prabhupada really thought outside the box when he started initiating Matajis, girls, women. And he knew that half of the movement's strength is going to come from those in female bodies. And definitely there's discrimination out there. There's discrimination everywhere in this world. It's painful to see it. It's even more painful to experience it. What I found when I was discriminated against for having a woman's body or, considered less intelligent is to rely on the books. Srila Prabhupada gave us these amazing transcendental literatures, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because ultimately when you're feeling discouraged, it's usually due to bodily identification. Think about it. Here you are in a sinking ship. This body is a lump of ignorance, right? We sing it for prasadam prayer all the time. Network of paths leading to death. But we have prasadam, we have the association devotees, we have the literatures to remind us, hey, you're not this body. This body is temporary. Now, how to handle that when someone else is acting that they are a body and that you are a body is to simply limit your association with them and in a loving way, think of them as a child, as someone who's not very mature, and someone who's maybe insecure. When someone's insecure, they're going to try to, what is it, ad hominem? They're going to attack the person, and they're going to say, hey, you're less of this, less of that. I'm reading Govinda Dasi Mataji's autobiography, and she felt extreme discouragement at certain points serving Srila Prabhupada. She was rebuked often by one servant of Srila Prabhupada, names withheld, who berated her for being a woman and belittled everything she did just for having a woman's body. And what she decided was to, with her husband, he helped her get this resolve. She resolved to be the best she could be despite anything. And she set her jaw in determination. That's how she put it. And she decided, I'm here as a servant of Srila Prabhupada. I'm here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's mercy is all that I'm made of, and that is what matters. And so because of that focus, she was able to get so much mercy from Srila Prabhupada. And she just didn't let the detraction bother her or the detractors. And she just kept a loving mood herself. So you have to self-love, number one. You have to love that child within. That's part of Krishna consciousness. Yes, it is. If you don't love yourself, you can't love Krishna. So that's important. And step 2, take shelter of the books. You're not this body. Read the verses in 2nd chapter Bhagavad Gita, just the verses, and then go back and do the purports. And you'll see how this bodily identification is the root of all evil. It's the root of all of our problems. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Maybe I can ask you something as much as you'd like to share, because
sure.
In your life, when there were certain transitions.
Oh, sure. Big ones.
Uncertainties.
Oh, yeah.
Not knowing where to be, not knowing who to be with, etc., etc. How did you find Krishna's hand? What can they learn from how you went through that crisis?
Okay, well, cards on the table. My former husband left me with thousands of dollars of debt and two dependent children. So that was in 1989 and 1990. And that was a very difficult phase of my life. By 1989, he had moved away from the community of devotees, and by 1993, he had filed for divorce. So divorce is certainly something I didn't want, and the children certainly didn't want it. But we were determined to stay at the lotus feet of the Guru and the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radhakala. So we did. And in fact, one afternoon, he called up and said, "We'll stay together as long as you leave ISKCON and come to South Texas. You come to South Texas and give up the Association of Devotees and the deities and the prasadam and all of that, and you come and stay with us." And by that time, my youngest son was 11 years old. My oldest son was 11 years old. When he posed that question, he was almost 11, 10 years old. And I called him in the room, and of course I covered the receiver, so my former husband couldn't hear. And I said, "What do you think?" His name was Sri Rupa at that time. "Sri Rupa, this is what your father is proposing." And immediately tears welled in his eyes. And he looked at me and he said, no, Mom, don't do it. It's a bad idea." And I said, "Okay, works for me." Yeah, that's a hard pass. I got back on the line and no, we're not moving. And so, yeah, I guess we'll be parting ways. And so, yeah, and before long he parted ways. And so we were alone for 6 years, single parent, dealing with the debt, but the temple was very merciful. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, they forgave more than half of my debt to the temple. I owed for rent. I owed the school for tuition. I owed so much, but it all worked out. In the end, I was selling my furniture, selling my appliances, and I paid off as much as I could. They were satisfied. And a god brother stepped forward and he said, "I want to marry all of you." And so we were shocked. We didn't think that would happen. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was quietly over the moon about it, because a second marriage is really frowned on. We don't go around saying, "Oh, I've been married twice." We don't do that. We don't brag about it. It's a shameful thing in one sense, and in another sense, it's glorious, because Lord saw that the kids needed a father and that the Mataji needed a husband. And so by so many, just a slight wish, so many things were fulfilled.
It's 6 years.
Yeah, but it was not until 1995 that he stepped forward. And by then, of course, my youngest son is almost 13. I'm sorry, my oldest son is almost 13, and my youngest son is he's 9.
Mhm.
And so he's almost 9. And by then, it was huge. I mean, they were thrilled, because the godbrother that stepped forward, Shalagram Das, they were already going camping with him from the school. They were already learning so many things from him because he was teaching PE and outdoor skills and how to survive in the woods. And he'd take all the kids would go with the teachers on camping excursions. And so, yeah, he was already really teaching them a lot. And then he took over, when we got married, he took over and started teaching Bhagavad Gita class. And so it was just an easy transition for them. They called him Dad right away. And I was grateful that my spiritual master, certainly through his prayers, it happened. Otherwise, no. On my own, no. But yeah, he's so kind. Krishna's so kind. Anything else?
Anything else you'd like to add?
The prayers. Well, because when you're alone for a few years, you think no one cares, no one's out there, no one's listening. He is. I would go in, I'd wait and see, make sure no one else was in the temple room. And I'd say, Shrimati Radharani, Shiv Kalachanji, this is going on, that's going on. Please help me depend on you. I need your mercy. Please protect the children. Please protect me, keep me from harm's way. And, please protect all women in my circumstance and all people in my circumstance. And, and just praying for others and praying for myself. Food for life. I began to go out on Food for Life. It's so amazing that as soon as that divorce was finalized when he started thinking about it, a beautiful god sister, Ladini Shakti, she was running Food for Life here in Dallas in the late 80s and early 90s. And by late 80s, when he was hitting the door and going out the door, I was already into Food for Life. So going out on Food for Life, I would say, is the greatest, probably the best occupation anyone can have when you're experiencing a moment of loss.
Wow.
So help others. When you're suffering, help others.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very powerful tool. In fact, in our groups, we also have that principle. Whenever you're in difficulty, be of service to others.
That's
the
it.
best way to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so grateful to Food for Life and Ladini Shakti and my Gurudev. Try.
Okay, we have devotees. Maybe they have questions. Anybody has any questions? Parul, Trikaya, we have Kushbu, Rukmini, Priya, Pankajarada, Komal, Manisha, Nitya Kishori from all over the world, different parts of from India and also
Yeah.
US.
Yeah. I appreciate the time and
We appreciate
this is I'm a mercy case. That's for sure. But we all are to one degree or another. And I feel thankful, just very thankful that things have worked out the way they did. And how rare, extremely rare. Some men, they don't want to jump in and marry a ready-made family. But we were so blessed with Shalagram Prabhu's kind mercy. Sure.
No, I just wanted to say that your whole story is so inspiring. And the one thing that I really, really liked and loved is that when you said that when you're in pain, help others. Like a lot of us are like so surrounded with our own pain that we don't do this. So I would want to know, like, apart from like what you said, like Food for Life and things like that, what else we can do to prepare ourselves or at least help others? Like, how do we let go of that pain that's surrounding us?
Mhm. It's a type of pain that freezes the soul, freezes the heart, it freezes the brain and the mind, and it's hard to think outside that box of pain. I know that struggle. And all I can say is you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's not going to work if you are too stoic and you cannot be seen as someone who's being crushed by that pain. If you are refusing to admit when it's too hard, it only gets worse. And you have to confess your heart to a dear friend. In my case, I confess to my friends in confidence, and I confess to the deities and confidence. Like I said, I would wait till no one was in the temple room, and I would bare my chest to the Lord. I would tell them everything, my anger, my frustration, my doubts, my confusion, my absolute emptiness, and just stark nakedness before him, not knowing what would happen, and just putting that one foot in front of the other. It can be so hard, but you have to do that. You have to take that step. You have to tell, just like in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, you have to admit that only a power greater than yourself can restore your sanity. Only a power greater than yourself. And you have to, the pride of wanting to keep face and wanting to be the cool one and not be vulnerable, it doesn't work anymore. Not for pain. Pain, you have to admit, you have to be honest, you have to be open. This is happening to me. I don't know if I even believe in God anymore. And you have to come to that rock bottom barrel. It happens. And I know that there's God. I know now, but I had a sneaky suspicion that there is God back then, during all those painful moments. I knew that beyond what I was thinking, there is God, and there is a truth higher than what I can see. So that's all I can tell you is, and you have to, take, but we were distributing 300 meals a day by hand. We'd have to go door to door. That was a workout. Yeah, I worked out. So that's another one. Get those endorphins going. Don't sit around. Don't be a couch potato. Get out, walk, talk to people. How can I serve you? I'm going through this, but maybe I can help you and we'll both feel better. And that's what I would do. Even on the food distribution route, I would be crying, distributing meals with tears. And we distributed meals in a very difficult area of Dallas. East Dallas is not, that close to Fair Park, it was not a safe place to be. But we went door to door to the projects. I found people that were dead in the street. Actually, I found 2 bodies. One day, he was passing away, and a few months, a year or 2 later, I found a man in the gutter, and it was very difficult area, and I was upset, but the people who greeted me would tell me, "Thank you, Jesus." And I would say, "Can I say thank you, Krishna?" And they said, "Yes, say thank you, Krishna, because Krishna is the father of Jesus." That's how advanced some of these people were. And I would say, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna, for this pain. Thank you for this suffering. Thank you for showing me what this world is really about." And you learn that attitude of gratitude, even through the pain, to be vulnerable, to be grateful, and to get out, move, do something. That's all I can tell you. That helped me. I don't know if it'll help everybody, but I really hope it does.
Yeah, Mataji, it does make sense. Like, I wouldn't say that my pain is like as much as I like a lot of people around me might have, but this is the acceptance of, yes, I am in pain, yes, things are not right sometimes, and then just that acceptance, and then going down in front of like Krishna and like going down to him and just apologizing for my karmas, because that's what I'm dealing with, right? What I'm getting is what the karmas I had, like that has helped me too.
Okay.
Krishna, thank you,
Very
Mataji.
good. Very good. Thank you. Apologizing for her karma. That's beautiful. All right. Asked to unmute Kodal Chopra.
Yeah, no, Mataji, there's another question. I don't know if somebody has already
Oh.
mentioned this, but it says, how did you prioritize your sadhana when you were struggling also? And what's your mantra for balance in life?
The sadhana that I had was a very important aspect. It had to be early morning while the kids were sleeping. The Brahma Muhurta hours are the best. My spiritual master actually gave me a sadhana program. He knew I was going through some tremendous challenges, and Srila Gurudev, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he mapped out, okay, this is what you do here. You chant this many rounds, and you come home and you chant this many rounds, and you come for Guru Puja every day. I didn't always go to Mangalarti, but I would chant the prayer, and I would start chanting my rounds. I would chant prayer to Tulsi Devi, to Lord Nrsingadev, and then start chanting my rounds. Then I would get ready for work. We would go to the temple because they made really large amounts of khichdi, and we would take khichdi. I would pack the kids' lunch for school. I packed my lunch, and we had a lot of khichdi. Sometimes we had sandwiches from the homemade bread, Kalachanji's homemade bread. And we'd make sandwiches, Ekadasi, same thing. We would get the temple preparations. I mean, seriously, we lived on the temple fare. I'm not some renowned cook. I don't know. To this day, I'm pretty good. I have more practice, but back then, no, very basic. My kids lived, let me say this, they lived on a lot of pasta. They had pasta in every different shape and size and flavor. But yeah, the sadhana had to be there. It was like the lifeline. I was raised Catholic, so it was the rosary. We would say our rosary, and for Krishna consciousness, it's chanting Hare Krishna. The Hare Krishna mantra, that was definitely the most important thing, to completely absorb and shut off the mind and absorb in the holy names. That was very important. To find the balance, it still is important. To find the balance, gosh, when everything looks so unbalanced. What's that verse in the Shri Ishopanishad? I used to chant that prayer a lot. Om Purnam Adha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachite Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Even though so many units are emanating from the Supreme Lord, he remains the complete balance. So this is Krishna. He is the complete balance. We can't find balance on our own. There's no way. We made a decision to come here to get a bag of blood, pus, mucus, bile, stool, and air. We made this bargain. And now Srila Prabhupada has taught us to make the best use of a bad bargain. And so the only balance is through Krishna consciousness. No, you're going to have days where you're not balanced. You're going to have days where you chant 16 rounds and you turn on movies and you watch a feel-good movie. That's what happens when you're alone and single with two small kids. You watch Bambi, or you watch, G.I. Joe, or Ninja Turtles. We would watch a few crazy shows every now and then just because we needed to let off steam. The balance is that if you are pursuing Krishna consciousness and you're active, and only you and Krishna can answer that. Only you and Krishna can say, am I doing what I can do? Am I frittering my time away? Should I be writing? What can I do to make the best use of this time? Go out and play with the kids? Yeah, sometimes that's what it is. You go and play with the kids. You go play with your friends. You you all go out in a park and throw a frisbee, get some exercise. And then, because Krishna consciousness means that you also have recreation. Krishna is the king of recreation. It's not that you have to remember to play. If you don't play, then you lose your joie de vivre, your joy of life. You have to stay full of that life. I mean, the kids, they played soccer, they played football, they played, my oldest son was a baseball. He played baseball for a couple seasons. He was really good. And my younger son, he was a football player, very good. Yeah. And and you learn to play with them and practice with them. Or, that's what my balance is that you don't just pray all the time. You read, you chant, you honor prasadam, you go on walks or do some recreation of some sort. That's what we did. And I feel a Srila Gurudev's blessing. Yeah, I do. Yep. Anything else? I hope I didn't lose you.
No, they are absorbing, they are digesting.
Okay,
We need to give them a moment.
Sure. Yeah. What is that? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, or Jacqueline a dull girl. Is everyone going synchrotron here in this group?
Some of them.
Wow. That's great.
Some of them are very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Sankirtan girls, Trikaya, Khushbu, you want to ask any question about Sankirtan? They love
Hare
Khushbu.
Krishna,
Hey, Haribol.
my humble obeisances.
My
Yes,
humble obeisance.
what should be the mood when we do kirtan? Because it is like sometimes we know and we are singing and our mood is different, but all all we know is that our mood should be to please Radha Madhav, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not always that. So how to be still and how to tell ourselves that yes, we are doing it for Radha Madhav only.
Sure. Sure. You're talking about Shishi Radha Madhava and Mayapur? Okay.
Yes.
Mood for Sankirtan is focus on the sound. Even if the kids are running around or people are talking or there's people running in and out of the area, you just keep focusing on the sound. And if you can focus on the lotus feet of the Lord and on Shrimati Radharani's lotus feet, you don't see them, but you can mentally see them. Just in all circumstances, try to keep the focus on the sound and on the form of the Lord, and let them do the rest. The holy name is full of all opulences, complete wealth, complete strength, complete beauty, complete knowledge, complete renunciation. And what's the other one? Wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, renunciation. The holy name has all of that. So you just hear and focus and know that that song is you calling. You're calling Krishna. Just like a little boat out at sea has a little light that's flashing. I'm flashing my light, Krishna. Please hear me. Humble servant, I'm just your little tiny jiva and praying for your mercy. Anything else? That's a nice question.
Thank you, Mataji. And I have one more question.
Yeah.
But if we are doing a service, but our mood is just to serve, but people sometimes takes us they feel like we are being over enthusiastic and we are taking all the opportunity and we are not letting others do the service. But our mood is not like that. So what to do in that matter? Because then we feel like we don't want to do it.
Opposite problem.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have experience with that, because in our temple, and we hope you come visit Dallas, we sometimes have to struggle to find people to do service. So, because everyone works a job here. I'm retired, so I can do more. We have a few retired people. We have a few people who are a little bit independently wealthy and they don't have to work. And they come. We have quite a few householders that plug in for the deity worship itself. But you're in a situation where your desire is so strong that you're already there doing the service before the other person can even come and help. I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj said it best when he said that when you're really making advancement, you're engaging others in Krishna's service. So I think it's important to engage others also. You know that you have that service, but it's good to take turns and to engage others. When Krishna sees, just see how this person facilitated, they helped that person come, he becomes very pleased. And you're facilitating them, maybe cleaning up or throwing away scraps if they're cutting you're putting the scraps for the cows, and or you're facilitating. That's more advanced. That's my humble suggestion. If people are feeling discouraged because you seem to be always there and doing it, then maybe you need to give them a day. Give them a day. Okay, I'll tell you what, you come this day and I'll let you do it.
Isn't that leadership, right? Taking
Yeah,
leadership is
that's a
amazing.
leadership role. Facilitating. Servant leader. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. I'll do this only.
Okay, I have this question about Mataji and Prabhu because some of our, like
Sure.
Rukmini Priya Mataji always asks this question.
Yeah.
In India, they don't call women Prabhu.
Oh.
And the other day when I mentioned it, they were like, this is the first time I ever hear. Because it like you called her Prabhu, right? And some of them feel very confused. They think, like the other day I wrote an email to somebody and he said, you made a mistake. I am not Prabhu, I am Mataji. So I'd like you to say something a little bit about the culture, that how during the time of Ramakrishna Maharaj or during your times, how that was actually normal, and even today it's normal.
When I joined, the women were giving class, the women were leading kirtans. It wasn't all just men. The women were just as involved. The women were called Prabhu. Prabhu means master. It doesn't necessarily mean male. It's that word is actually non-generic. It's doesn't have any gender. So there's no gender bias. I guess in the West, the women are very important. I would say that more than half of our servants here at the temple are Matajis. They're women. And it's a whole other world there in India. The women are not allowed to go on the altar. They're not allowed to do certain things. And that's fine for that culture. I guess it works for them. But if someone by accident calls you Prabhu, understand that that's an endearment. That's a sign of respect. It's not meant to puff you up or to give you a false title or whatever. It's an endearment. And Mataji is also an endearment. You know, this is really a matriarchal culture in one sense. It's patriarchal also, but it's also matriarchal in that, "O son of Kunti." How many times does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita, "O son of Pritha, O son of Kunti"? You know, in other words, both the men and women are valued in the true Vedic culture. It's not one more than the other, and it's not, there's no prejudice and there's no bodily concept. Does that make sense? You know, the bodily concept, again, it creeps in and creates havoc. So yeah, I wouldn't be depressed or offended if someone calls you Prabhu. And if you're a single woman and have never had children and someone calls you Mataji, don't let it bother you. I was called Mataji from the moment I walked through the door. I was Bhaktin Linda or Linda Mataji, Mataji Linda, before I was Kunti Devi Dasi. So yeah, they call you Mataji, even if you have no children, because you are the potential of a Mataji. You are, I saw it like that. I saw, yes, all the men are my sons, and the women, I see them as my sisters and my friends. And in some cases, I felt like a mom to some of the women. And you know, that's a tiny thing. What you could do in your mind is say, whenever you hear Mataji, you can hear the word Prabhu. And when you hear Prabhu, just hear Mataji. Don't let it bother you. It's inconsequential. Is that all right? Prabhu?
If you like, for a moment, you can all turn on your videos and say Haribol to
Okay.
her.
All right. Haribol. There they are. Beautiful.
Haribo.
Gorgeous.
Denver,
Haribol.
Denver,
Sweet.
DC,
Beautiful.
different devices.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Kolkata.
Chai. Lovely.
Thank you. Haribol. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Haribol.
so much. Thank you for being with us today. Bunch of Kapatubhascha, grateful Sadhivaya, Patitana,
Naman. Jai Kunti Devi
Hare
ki,
Krishna.
Kunti Devi Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much.
Shri Radha
Srila
Govinda
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai,
jai.
Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribol.
Thank you.